and moving out to the junkyard or the cockpit. I'm just gonna run through and take a look at this. This is the mount that I'm looking at, I'm putting in, and I'm gonna chop the top off that so it's just round, because the wind turbine that I've got just sits sort of on top, and it needs a 1.5 to 2 inch kind of tubular mount for it. So I've just got it lashed to the frame just so I can stand back and on the wharf and have a look. But that's the outline, that's where I want it to go, and I'm kind of making these timber plates for them, and what I want that to do is kind of sit there like that, and that's because the boat's falling away, of course, for the water, and then I want that to be level, and then this to sit on top of that, and then I'll just put a little strap onto the aft rail and then drill it into this, and hopefully that'll be strong enough. I don't really even know what I'm doing. Oh yeah, so this is my rafting buddy. I'm not actually on the wharf, I'm just rafted up, but this is led all the way aft. This is on the transom, and I'm gonna remove this flagpole, which I still haven't got a Aussie flag for anyway, but I'll have to remove this flagpole kind of assembly and make way for the wind vane, which is gonna sit on the back there. And I'm just trying to think, there are boats around with them, but I can't see any. There's some down there, but so I've got to make way for that, and I've got to find the $2,000 to buy that as well, which I don't know how I'm going to do. But down here is, well, it's underneath the cockpit, and there you can see the batteries. Oh, 2 batteries. It's more like the motor batteries, not really the house battery, which is down inside the cabin, but it's got some ropes and shit there. I don't know, it's a bit of a junkyard down there as well, but there is a bilge pump down there. It's really kind of hard to see, and I don't know how to get down there. I might have to get me mate Miriam to come and give me a hand. Oh, she can probably fit down there. And I also might have to take the auto helm, that might be the master box. I might need to take that in to be serviced, because I haven't yet been able to get the auto helm to run a straight course, so it might need calibrating. And that's why we're down here. I've got this little snorkel which runs down under the boat. This is where the propane bottle sits, which is like in there, which actually just ran out for the first time since I bought the boat, so that was pretty good. It lasted a long time. And that snorkel I just pointed out runs down to the bottommost part of the boat, which, so the propane is obviously, it's heavier than oxygen or air, so it's going to sink, and it sinks down into the bilge, and then it gets pumped out by a pump that's up there, which you can't see, and then is exhausted through this vent and then out the back of the boat, and that's not working, so it's really hard to get in there, and I can't even get in there to kind of rip it apart. And I've just been going without one, really. So I'm not really sure. There's not a lot of room to stuff around here, but I'm not really sure exactly where I want to put the life raft. Whether I'll put it in front of the mast there, but I'm kind of thinking like it'd be nice to have it in the cockpit, just because if you roll it and you're underwater, you kind of want easy access. You don't want to kind of swim underneath the boat. And that's gonna not happen anyway, so I guess up the front would do. But I've got to find another $2,000 for that as well. Yeah. So this is up at the mast, and first of all, the really fine minor detail or it would seem minor, is the direction of this pulley. If you can see, it's slightly off this way, whereas in the track of the rope wants to go that way. The pulley's that way and the track's that way. Well, that's enough to cause chafe in the line. So I don't know how that's going to go after 2,000 miles, or 6,000 miles, or even 10,000 miles before I get home. But it might be a consideration. I might get an extra pulley just to clip into here, so then I can just divert it if it starts to chafe. But I'm going to get all this anti-chafing gear anyway. Maybe I'll have to put some sort of sock in there, I don't know. This might be a little harder to see. This is the boom vang, which leads up, and I've also got the green tie in there. This is my preventer, which goes all the way to the fixing mount for the boom vang. I don't know if that's good enough, but it seems good enough. And then it runs down to a block there and then gets diverted back to the cockpit. And I do like it, but the only problem I'm going to have is on the deck here I'm going to have 1-inch tubular climbing webbing for the harness, so you know, the run. So I clip it into my harness and I can run up and down. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to have to crawl underneath there, which I don't really like, but I don't know how to get around it at the same time. The reason why I've got the preventer set up, and that's kind of like a must-have, is because I've got my Traveller is all the way aft, and it's not really even underneath the boom, if you can see. It's got, you know, it's got this 60-degree angle, which is pretty weak, and I'm not really sure about that, like engineering kind of speaking, but it really should be in front of the Dodger, like above the boom, to give it that kind of lateral stability, I guess. But having it outside and kind of at 60 degrees down, when that's fully out, there's kind of a lot of pressure going on all these tiny little fastenings, so I actually expect to blow this thing apart at one stage or another on the trip. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to want a preventer just to stop the boom from doing anything too crazy while I make the repair. Back at the boom at the gooseneck, and this is the downhaul, I believe. It's the rope that's actually runs back to the tip of the boom and pulls the clew of the sail back in. And there's also a winch to help you do that, which I need to make it multi-useful when it comes to reefing, because my reefing setup isn't going to lead back to the cabin, back to the cockpit. I'm just going to have it that I set the auto helm and then come up to the boom and do all my work from here. And saying that, I guess this might be a fitting for a tack hook, which I need to then, you know, hook in the individual, you know, each reef as they come through. But this sail that I'm going to be primarily using doesn't have a triple reef, which, you know, a deep reef, if that's what you call them. It only has two, and they're quite large, I guess. And so I'm going to probably get a deeper reef sewn in. But anyway, I guess I use this for the tack hook, which I was just thinking of getting some 1.5-ton tube webbing that I use for climbing, and putting a cam hook on it, which you also use for climbing, and you know, that'd hook on nicely, I guess. But you know, I don't really know. All these thingy-jigs, whatever they are, that slide in the mast track, they kind of all look sun-faded, so I'm going to have to get all them replaced too, because they'll just blow apart. The same with the rings and runs on the boom. I think I'm gonna get them replaced, or keep some and then replace them as they break, so I get more mileage out of them, I guess. And there's the wind turbine pole. You can see it now. So it just needs to be past head height, and you know, so it's not going to chop my head off if I'm walking around. I'm going to get my buddy Gary White. I'm going to get his mate to, who's a rigger, to have a look at all the shrouds and that. You know, basically it's 1x19 strand, which is obviously, I think it's the best from what I've read. And also, which I'm pretty happy about, is this cone system for kind of splicing the 1x19 strand into the rigging parts. And so we might have to have a look. Also, we'll have a look for any cracks in any of this sort of gear, and up at the masthead. But one of the considerations we were making when looking at the rig was that there's really no play here. The rig's gonna stretch, and I'm gonna need to tighten this system up. And at this stage, I've only got, you know, kind of half an inch to play with. So we're gonna get him to also cut an inch or so out of the 1x19 and then replace it to give me more play on the trip. And so I guess he'll teach me how to do that while I'm underway, or while we're at sea. And you know, some of them they're looking a bit faded. I don't know, I guess they're right. She'll be right, mate. Back in the junkyard, the cockpit, this locker is actually the ceiling for the aft quarter berth that we were in before. And Frank Pocket, the guy who I bought the boat off, has actually done a good job of water sealing this locker, but I'm going to have to go ahead and do the same for these, because the water is supposed to track down into those little pipes, and then, you know, that pipe then goes down, washes into here, which, you know, will then go out the scuppers and then off the side of the boat. But they don't do a very good job. So yeah, that's pretty much a lot of the stuff that I need to get done before I go in 5 months. It's now kind of mid-January, and we need to kind of get the show on the road. And so yeah, that was a bit of a quick run through on what is needed and what I'm trying to get done. You know, there's still a mainsail that I need to buy, like a spare, which I'll probably use as a primary, and then keep the one I've got at the moment for a spare. But yeah, I've kind of gone through some of the gear that I need, and I'll just keep adding to the list, obviously. Thanks for watching.